Hey guys, and welcome back to another tutorial today. So I'm going to be showing you how I achieved these very beautiful upper bodies. As you can see me sewing, and if you watch at the left side of the screen and at the right side of the screen, you see where I cut the fabric in the pattern and also the finished look. And this is me finalizing it in my sewing machine. So if that is what you want to see, then you want to watch this video to the very end. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment for me in the comment section, and I'll see you right in the pattern drafting video and also in the sewing tutorial. So you want to sit and watch this video to the very end, okay? So this is what the pattern looks like, and we'll head straight to drafting it. Firstly, you have to get your basic bodies. I just imputed my side bust darts and my waist dart. I'm labeling my bust line, under bust line, and waistline. Okay, so that's just all that I'm doing here. So I'm going to be getting this pattern in a hole, and I'm going to have to trace it out in a hole, and we're going to be using that. So I'm going to have to label also bust line, under bust line, and waistline. So having done that, we'll go ahead to start drawing in our princess seam, our armhole princess seam. I'm using 4 inches from the top of my shoulder on both sides, and I'm connecting it like so. You can use whatever you want, 3 inches, 2 inches, whatever that you want to use, but I'm just using 4 inches, which is not even my mid armhole. So you can go from wherever, from anywhere around your armhole area. So that is it now. And having done that, I'm also going to try to determine the center of my bodies. So I'll just mark it out to know where the center is. And that's what I'm doing right now, to mark out the center of my bodies, okay? So I haven't done that with my tape. I'm trying to measure the one part of my shoulder line to know how that shawl collar kind of stuff, where it's going to fit in. So I haven't done that now. I'm going ahead to use my ruler to draw in the very first, the shawl collar. Yes, I'm using my ruler to draw in the shawl collar, okay? Do not worry, you're going to be seeing clearly what I'm doing. I'm using my ruler to draw in the shawl collar that is on one side of the upper bodies. So I haven't done this. This is what I'm having. Also go ahead to determine the how wide I want the shawl collar to be. So I'm going ahead to mark 2.5 inches like so. This is optional. You can make it, but do not make it to be very big, because if it's so large, it is going to look weird. It's not going to. So I use 2.5 inches. I'm going ahead to connect it like so to meet my waistline. So this is what it looks like. I'm trying to curve it out. I actually use the ruler to draw it, so I have to curve it out so it doesn't look straight. I use the marker to trace this whole thing so that you will see it clearly, which is which. So this is what it looks like. And I haven't impute particular design. I'll go over to the other side to impute that kind of corset design. So firstly, I'm going ahead to mark out my bust circumference. If you've not seen me in this one of my videos, any video that has to do with bust, here I think I explain much about bust circumference there. So this is me imputing my bust circumference, and I'm marking all the way around to get my accurate bust circumference. So I'm now joining those dotted lines together like so. Please, you want to make sure this is this is circular, like the circle is a perfect circle, so you know where you're taking whatever measurement it is you're taking from. So having done that, this is what it looks like, okay? So I'm marking that very point where this stuff intersects or thereabout. Yeah, I'm just marking it. So this is what I'm having as my bust circumference, and I'm trying to, check where that corset kind of look, where it's going to stop before we put in the net. I'm trying to check where it's going to be best for it. So this is what I'm doing right now, and I decided to use this one. So then, having done that, I decided I was going to, okay, I've used a marker to do this so you see it clearly. So the shawl collar is visible now. I decided to increase 1 inch at the upper part of the bust circumference. I decided to increase it by 1 inch. Reason why I'm doing this is so that when you wear it, you don't show your breast. I'm a modest fashion designer, so anything that has to do with indecent dressing, no, I don't do that. So I had to increase it by 1 inch so that it doesn't show your breast, okay? Want to look very fashionable and at the same time decent, okay? So that's what we're doing now, and I've gone ahead to add 1 into it, and then this is what it's going to look like. I also use a marker to draw this out so that you see clearly the one we're using, and yeah, That's it. So I haven't done that. This is what we're having. So for the inner one, I'm marking 1.5 inches all the way around from the very original one, like so. You know, that very part that looks like it's folded down, like folded over. So I'm using 1.5 inches and I'm going to be connecting all those dotted lines like so. So I'm going to be that's why I said make sure that very bust circumference is a perfect circle because it's going to affect the shape of this very stuff. Mine does not even look like a perfect circle, but it came out well. I think it's okay. It came out nice when I wore it. So this is it. And so I'm going ahead now to do the whole that manipulation stuff. I'm closing up my side bust dart. If you've been watching my videos, you should get used to me doing this. Closing up my side bust dart. Okay, and opening it at the armhole to form my armhole princess seam. And that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm using my tape to hold it down. Then I'll go ahead to eliminate my waist dart like so. I'll go ahead to eliminate my waist dart like so. So that's it. I haven't eliminated my waist dart. Just trying to make sure that this very part is not pointed. Please be careful. You want to mark every notch. You want to label when necessary. Underbust, side, underbust, bust point. You want to label and mark notches when necessary because it's going to help you. Kind of this whole thing is complicating. So you want to label, you want to mark your notches when necessary. Okay. So I'm going to head to draw to also take this out like so. And I had to take this out like so, and this is what we're having. This is for this very particular part, and I'll trace out this whole very shawl collar. Okay, I'm going to be tracing it out. So let's work this very particular part. So working on this part, I'm going to have to remove my side bust dart and open it up at the armhole seam, princess seam that we drew, just so I create my armhole princess seam. Okay, so that is what I'm doing right now, and I'm using my tape to tape this down at the side bust dart because I've closed the side bust dart, and as you can see, I've opened it my armhole princess seam area to create the armhole princess seam actually. So I'll go ahead now to remove my waist dart. Okay, so I'll go ahead now to remove my waist dart like so. So also the part of the waist that went into that shawl collar area, I've also gone ahead and remove it. So I'm going to be truing this whole thing to put it back in place and make sure that every line that was removed, I redraw it and it kind of bring it back, okay, so that nothing is missing. And that shawl collar actually went off when we removed the dart, so I'm redrawing it again. Okay, I'm redrawing it again and using my marker to take it all the way down to the waistline. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now, and that's just it. Not doing anything, and haven't done that, I'll go ahead to recut to get a full shawl collar. So I'm removing the tapes now, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to have to tape this very part because we're also going to be tracing it out. I'm going to be taping it down to form a hole because we're also going to be tracing it out. Okay, so I'm taping it down because we're tracing, and this is what it looks like. Okay, I have to trace out this whole thing now. So I'm going to have to trace out everything. I'm going to have to trace out the shoulder, the other part of it that's like a corset, and this is what it actually looks like. This part that I'm taping down, we're going to be cutting it as a whole. It's actually the net area. Okay, so this is what we're having now. Okay, and I'm going to head this out. That's that net area. Okay, I'm cutting it out to separate it from the other fabric, from the bodice actually. So this is exactly all the pieces put together. This is what we're having. This is all the pieces put together, and I'll head straight to the sewing. Okay, so for the sewing, I'm gonna head to line my shawl collar. And remember, I told you to mark notches. So I'm sewing the shawl collar on that very center piece part. Okay, don't worry, you understand what I'm doing because I'm going to be explaining in details as I keep sewing, and I'll be showing you everything. So I'm gonna head to sew it up like so. I started from where my notches are, so I'm going to be completing it at the waist region like so, at the waist area like so. So having done that, this is what it looks like. So we are going to be bringing that other part of it, the princess seam part of it at the side, and we are going to also be sewing it. Like I said before, mark your notches. I'm actually starting from where my notches are to sew so that I don't make mistake and everything comes out nice. So this is it. I'm going ahead to sew from that very particular area like so. So this is what we're having also like so. So for that very part of it, the other part, okay, this is what I'm showing you right now. The other part that has a corset kind of look. So we're going to be sewing this like so. I hope you understand what I just showed now. So starting from where my notches are also, I'm going ahead to sew. Please, you have to be very careful with the patterns so you don't misplace any piece, and once any piece is missing, you're going to find out that it's not going to be complete and you have difficulties. I don't know how you're going to go about it. So you have to be careful that no piece is missing. Everything is intact. So here is it, and I'm sewing right away. So I haven't opened it up. This is what it looks like. Okay. So I'll go ahead to give this a nice press. And then for the that very part of it that is on top of it, I'll go ahead to also sew it up with the lining together. I actually attached I ironed an interface to it just to kind of give it a little bit structure. Okay, something very light just to give it structure. So here is what I'm doing right away like so. So I'm going ahead to sew it up, the very part that is going to be facing downwards, like I'm going to be covering it up. So I haven't done that. I'll go ahead to cut, like, because it's a rounded, it has kind of rounded shape, you're going to be cutting but not on the thread. You just want to cut very close to where you have sewn, so it's easier for you to iron and it's going to be lapping very well when you turn it over. So having done this now, I'll go ahead to give this a nice press and I'll sew on top of it. Okay, actually the lining is smaller than the fabric. When you turn it over, it's going to come out nice, and this is what we're having after I've given it a nice press. So I'll go ahead now to stitch it up at the sewing machine like so. So from making sure my notches align, I'm also going to head to sew them up like so. So the other side also, I'm going to have to make sure that I sew everything up completely like so. So I haven't done that, this very part is ready, and there are excesses, so I'm going to be cutting it to make sure everything is in line. So we're going to be attaching this very part. Make sure you follow your notches. Like I said, very important. You want to mark all the notches. I'm following my notches and I'm going to be sewing it to the very other part of the dress that we made, part of the her bodies that we made. So I'm going to have to sew it all up like so. So I haven't done that. This is also it like so. I'm going to have to sew it all up like so. And this is what we are having. Ta-da! So this is what we're having like so. Okay. So I'll go ahead to add the net to it. And this part is actually very tricky, okay? So I'm taking it very slowly. I marked a notch on my net and that notch aligns with the princess seam area. So I'm just going to have to pick it up like so and then sew it up, take it to my sewing machine and sew it all the way up like so. You have to be careful while sewing because it's a rounded edge. Because it's rounded, you want to be very careful while sewing it to make sure that it will be neat and nice when you're done sewing. If you rush it, it's possible you're going to be having like kind of rough rumples when you're done sewing. So you have to be very careful with sewing this, so it's going to come out very neat and nice when you're done sewing. Actually, so then to that area I stopped. Okay, then I wanted to make sure that I'm in line with what I'm doing, to also check it out. So I opened it up and checked it here. Of course, I was in line with what I was doing, so I went ahead to join the rest of it to this very particular point, like so. So I'll go ahead to pick this up now and start sewing exactly the way it's supposed to be. So at this point, you want to lift your footer. I hope I'm right. You have to lift. I hope that's what is called footer. So you have to lift it. Then when you turn it to the direction you want to sew, you bring it down and then you start sewing. I have to leave this to be very slow so that you understand it very well. Because if the net is not really nice, it's not going to be looking okay. Okay. So you have to sew this carefully. And I'm doing this so you understand everything that I'm doing. So this is it. And I'm going ahead to sew up the other side that went into that corset kind of that part of it. So I'm going ahead to sew that part of it. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to be turning it over after cutting out all the threads that are hanging around so you see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. Wow. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more videos and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah. Bye. See you in my next tutorial. Bye. Thanks for watching.